Hey everybody, what we're going to do today is tear down our breakdown AR9, and we're going to take the Dolos kit. We now have a new plate from Pantheon Arms, plate and pin, that are used to replace what we've been doing using a gas block and gas tube to keep the unit as one solid unit. Little disclaimer up front. This will not work on all 9mm barrels. There's a certain amount of landing that you need right here in order, because where these set screws come in, they have to land on the flatter edge of this barrel. And if your taper starts further back, those set screws are going to land on the taper and just slide down as you try to tighten them. So we just loaded up our barrels that we had made for these on the website AmericanResistanceGear.com. So if you're looking for one, just let us know, and we know they work. We've done them. You're about to see one built. So first thing you want to do, make sure your weapon's clear and safe. And what we're going to do first is take out our Law Tactical plug, because what we're going to do is separate our upper from our lower. Go ahead and set your lower aside. You're not going to need that for a while. And we're going to use our handy dandy little upper block. Now, first thing you do, if you already have one and you're wanting to retrofit it with the new piece, you need to get all this taken apart. You need to take your handguard apart from your locking collar and all that. Do not break this handguard with the Dolos ratcheted in. When I say ratcheted in, I mean fully installed. So if you got it there, do not break this handguard loose. What you want to do is pull your tab down for your Dolos, break it loose, but don't pull it out like that. Leave it pushed in, and now go counterclockwise and your handguard will break loose. If you have it ratcheted in, when you try to break that handguard loose, you run the risk of breaking the what's called a pawl. It's a little tooth inside of there that holds it on there, and you're putting a lot of tension on that dude. So make sure that you do it just like we just showed you. All right, handguard's off, and if you already have one, this is probably what it looks like, something like this, where we've taken the gas tube and cut it short. But we're going to go ahead and get all this. We're actually going to use a different barrel because this barrel will not work. And to show you kind of why, if you look closely, how long this is shorter than on this one, on the black one. And this barrel cannot be used with the new pistol cowl plates for the Dolos. So just make note of that. Also, if you have a locking collar, you need to pay attention to what barrel you're using, but you also need to watch out if your locking collar is one of the older ones and it doesn't have these holes drilled in it, you won't be able to use it either. So just make note of that. We're going to go ahead and get our flash hider, gas block and gas tube off. Set those aside. Going to go ahead and get our gas block off and out of the way. Okay, go ahead and set all that aside. Take your other barrel, set it aside. All we need is this, and these pieces here. This is what will actually come with your kit. It'll be 6 of these set screws. I got one trying to sneak off. 1 pin and the plate. First thing you'll do is take this pin. This is the only thing I recommend on an AR using red Loctite, and that comes from Pantheon Arms as well. They want you to use red Loctite on this. Go ahead and screw that in, and then just don't get He-Man with it, but just bite it and give it a little bit of torque to make sure that it grabs good. The red Loctite will do the rest of the work, but just kind of give it a little snugness. So, kind of a rundown before we run into this. This plate's going to drop in pin first. You see your little half moon slot there? That's where this pin's going. It's acting as the gas tube. And push that all the way in. Now, when you drop this in, and you've got, I'm going backwards, sorry. When you got this in, you don't want to let gravity do its thing and pull that plate all the way down to the bottom. What's going to end up happening is, if you'll notice, the holes on the plate, see if I can get one lined up to show you. So you have to line the holes up with the plate, and if you let the plate fall all the way to the bottom, it's not going to allow those holes to line up. Can't get the thing to move inside of there. There we go. So if you let the plate fall, you'll notice it off centers it and you won't be able to get those holes in there. So what you have to do whenever you're putting the set screws in here is use the Allen screw to kind of pry the plate up a little bit to get it off of that shoulder. And the shoulder I'm talking about is this shoulder here. You don't want that plate resting right against it. You want it backed off a little bit. And the reason why is if it's all the way against it, when you go to install it, the lock collar isn't going to have any slack in it and won't be able to slide in and lock. So keep that in mind, and we'll show you real quick how it all kind of goes together. First thing you want to do though is go ahead and get one of each of the set screws. Get 3 of them. Go ahead and get them all the way in to where they're just barely peeking out on the inside. And right there is about good for that one. And I've already went through and Loctite. I put blue Loctite on these. I think Pantheon prefers us to use red. The problem with that is if you ever got to take this off, it's not going to happen. If you put red Loctite on it, it's not going to happen. So keep that in mind. I think we have a screw there. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. Okay, so we got all 3 barely peeking out, because whenever you go to put this in, you also cannot allow the plate to, once you start setting in the screws, to tilt in any kind of direction. If it's off centered or anything, it's going to cause you a lot of headaches. So first thing you're going to do is take that pin, if you can see right here, get that pin lined up with your tooth here, and just kind of get it loosely tightened up. And then what you're going to do is pick this little guy up and find the holes. So see how I can line my holes up right there? We're sitting good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Allen screw, sometimes it's best just to use the table to get started. Keep in mind this can be a little bit of a task, especially your first time. Okay, now, once you got them loosened up and it'll drop all the way down without you having to push or anything, you're ready to start. And this is where the fun kind of begins. So, get it lined up just like we were talking about. Kind of hold that there. Now you have, if you let gravity just do its thing and pull that plate, this is what you're going to wind up looking like. You're going to have that hole off-centered and you won't be able to get the next set screw in on top of that one, because we put the first 3 in, they're going to bite the barrel. The second 3 are going to come in on top of those and ensure that they don't try to back out. And so you have to back, if you'll notice when I push on this pin, which is attached to the plate, see that hole start to line up, it kind of backs up against it. That's what you're looking to do. That's about how far you got to back that up. Let the lock collar, which is this outside piece, fall all the way. The plate has to push back up, and the best way to do that is actually take your Allen key, kind of wedge it in there, get it into that set screw, and use that to pick up on it. Don't try to do it by hand. You'll be here all day trying to fight that dude. So grab that right there and just little quarter turns. You're just trying to get these dudes nice and evened up. If you try to do one at a time, it'll just be an uneven thread and you'll be fighting it for a while. So okay, let's check our level. It looks pretty level. Now, okay, so we got them all kind of bit, but we have a problem. See how the hole isn't lined up? Not completely. That means we need to loosen them and raise that up just a pinch more. There's that one. There's that one. And there's that one. So now we have a good alignment. And if you'll notice, we have a little bit of play in there. About that much is about how much you want. Now, what we actually got to go back and re-loosen them, because what happened while we were doing that is the pin, we tightened it down with the pin offset from the indexing pin. So like I said, this can be a bit of a task your first time, and even your second, third, and like mine, probably my fifth or sixth one. So just bear with me and we'll get this guy installed and show you that it actually works. Guy's just not wanting to go today. He's gonna fight me the whole way. Okay. So that. All right, so we look like we're in good placement now. And again, we got all these snug down. We just want to check and make sure that's level. You probably can't see it in there, but I can tell that this plate is actually leaning a little bit. So what I'm going to do is the high side, I'm actually going to bring it back down. I'm going to loosen it just a pinch, let it drop, and re-snug it. And now just visually looking at it, I can tell that that plate is pretty level. And before you go snatching on it, to make sure, bite these screws again, because it happens too much where when you go to test it, the set screws weren't bit enough and it just slides off and you got to restart. So okay, so we're good. See that slack we got? That's about how much you want. What you're going to do is take your pin. We're just going to run through a test stab just to make sure that it works here. Stab it in. That pin goes into your gas tube hole. Make sure that that slides in easily. And sometimes these upper blocks will stop it from. I think we may have our spacing off a little bit too. There it is. Just hard to do without a handguard to grab and get it in there, but that's it. We got it. It's good and secure. Now what we're going to do is get it back out of there, because we know that it works, or we know that the spacing's good. So now we're going to line these holes back up and tighten up our last three. And again, make sure you Loctite these. I've already gone through what we started filming and put a little bit on them, so don't forget on your step, because if you don't Loctite them, these will come loose. Don't even try to do it without it. All right, so now we're going to run through, bite all these just one more time, just to make sure they seat and hold well. And there you go. Now let's go ahead and get our upper mounted back in. If you don't have an upper block like this, you may have one of these. It can be kind of a pain with these due to this piece here, but a lot of times they work. Just got to be a little cautious. But this is by far the best upper block for this assembly. Okay. Go ahead and, before you put your handguard on, put your flash hider crusher washer back on. handguard on, don't get crazy with it. You don't need to torque this thing down with some kind of gorilla strength. Just get it all the way up against. Again, pull this down, release your Dolos so that it's loose, and now, oh, probably not going to want to let, there you go. And see, now I can just put a little bit of bite on that handguard, and I'm good. And there you go. She is installed. Now let's see what she looks like and how she functions on the full weapon. Hold her up. Keep in mind, when they're new, you're going to have a little stickiness, so there you go. And for install, all you're looking for is that little pin. You can barely see it protruding out. Get it into the gas block hole, or the gas tube hole, and then you have a little machine line right there on your locking collar. Now that can actually be turned off, like off from the pin. So you have the pin over here, you have the machine line over here. Get the pin in first. Once it's stabbed, rotate over. Once you feel it seat, she's ready to go. So again, just to kind of recap, not all barrels will work. You're gonna need a little bit of extra length on this part right here before it starts tapering down. What's gonna happen is if you don't have that length, the step screws are gonna land on the taper, just slide down, and it's gonna drive you crazy. So keep that in mind. We got barrels loaded up. They'll start shipping here in about a week or two for barrels that actually work. They're 7.5 inch, and they work with these fantastically. The kit itself, the plate is 20 bucks, and if you want us to install it, it's another 20 bucks. So if you want to send over, just send over just take your barrel off, send that whole assembly. We'll do the install for you. If you want to do it yourself, it's 20 bucks. We'll send it out to you, and you can have, your way with it. But I think I covered everything. If you guys have any questions, Michael at AmericanResistanceGear.com, and I'll be glad to help you out. Thank y'all.